On today's Locked On Thunder podcast, the Oklahoma City Thunder get a big win over the New Orleans Pelicans. Can the Thunder send J-Dub to the All-Star game?
You are Locked On Thunder, your daily Oklahoma City Thunder podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Let's get it going on the Locked On Thunder podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am your host, media member, and beat writer for Thunder on SI, Rylan Stiles. Follow me on Twitter at Rylan_Stiles. Follow the show on Twitter at LOThunderPod. Email the show, LOThunderPod@gmail.com. Also on Blue Sky, Rylan Stiles over there. On today's show, we're diving into the Thunder's big win over the New Orleans Pelicans. This show is brought to you by our good friends over at Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create your account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. And this was a big win. I know that you can look at the mash unit of the Pelicans, and it is a mash unit. I mean, their injury report is as long as a CVS receipt. No Zion, no DeJounte Murray, no CJ McCollum, no Jose Alvarado, no Herb Jones. And think to yourself, how could this possibly be a big win? But when the Thunder don't have Chet, Hartenstein, Caruso is out with a hip soreness, and J. Will, any win without a center and without Alex Caruso, who's arguably your best guy that's able to scale up defensively, is a big-time win. And it really came from being resilient. The Thunder grew a 22-point lead after getting down by 12. And how they got down 12 was the Pelicans' recipe for an upset. The Thunder were 13.5-point favorites in this game. And when you look at how this game started, it was all trending Pelicans, who are desperate to stop the bleeding, who need to somehow find ways to get wins before they bury themselves in the tough Western Conference. And Shai starts 0 for 3. You're missing clean looks from guys like Isaiah Joe, who are typically very solid shooters, of course. And Brandon Ingram, who finished with a team-high 18 points, was really effective early, which was a rarity against Lou Dort and the Thunder. They also were able to get Yves Missi involved in an easy pick-and-roll actions, and you just thought that there's really no answer for that. And so the Thunder, who started out poorly and from Mark to J-Dub to everybody, admitted they came out flat. They did not have energy. They just didn't have it to start the game. It's what caused Mark to call 2 timeouts in short order at the opening tip. But they found a way to win. And what went from a Pelicans recipe for an upset turned into what the Thunder are required to do to win games under these scenarios. No matter who you play or who they don't have, when you're tasked with winning with this group, where J-Dub is your starting center, jumping center circle, he did lose the opening tip, but did win one after a wedgie. When this is your group, you have to do exactly what the Thunder did, because they lost the rebounding battle 58-31. Now, this team is no stranger to lap-sided rebound columns. They spent all last year getting beat in the rebound category. But 58-31 is substantial, and those possessions have to come from somewhere. Because at the end of the day, these are NBA players, and you give them more possessions than you get, and that leads to the winner more often than not. But the Thunder did a perfect job of creating possessions. They forced 23 turnovers in this game. This was like the 8th game out of 12 where the Thunder forced 20 or more turnovers. And to the Thunder's credit, they only gave the ball away 5 times. That's a very large disparity. And after that sluggish start, after the Pelicans go on that 20-7 run, after you got down by 12, what you saw was the Thunder tightening the screws. And even in possessions that didn't end in a rebound or a steal and kind of show up in the box score, it was the constant deflections that bogged this game down. There were multiple occasions where the Pelicans get into their action and you're 2 deflections in before you even think about initiating anything. And those deflections lead to, oh, shoot, this guy standing in the corner who we don't think can create a shot has 5 seconds to go do something. And that's how you win possessions. That's how you flip advantages. And the Thunder did a good job of flipping those advantages on the possession front and defensive front, but they also did a elite job at making a positive out of a negative with their personnel. So the Thunder, win in the sense of their personnel. They tie points in the paint, which is a win whenever you don't have a center, 42-42. They lose second chance points 26-5, but they gained it back in the fast break where the Thunder outscored the Pelicans 34-2. So statistically, this, of course, is not the prettiest game, but it is the necessary game. The Thunder shot 44% from the floor, 38% from three, and 81% at the free throw line, and they held the Pelicans to under 40% shooting from three, to a dreadful 24% from three, and from 39% from the floor, 24% from three, and 64% at the charity stripe. Everything turned up Thunder after adversity. And this is what we talk about. This is a living color example of what we talk about whenever I understand the panic from Sunday, and that is an awful thing to lose your rising star, to lose Chet Holmgren for a substantial portion of this regular season, and he's expected to return. We'll see how that goes. While that's an awful thing, the Thunder have a rare ability to just not surrender. Because more often than not, if you look around the NBA, even teams desperate for a win, they'll see their stars start over three. They'll see the missed open looks. They'll see the other team throw a punch out of the gate and just say, well, we'll get them Friday. We'll get them next time. That's not in this Thunder team's DNA. And they were able to not only counterpunch, but knock out the Pelicans. I thought that this game would flow where the Thunder are the ones to deliver that first punch. They control the game from start to finish. And then whenever you do get to the end, the Pelicans can have a backdoor cover because you just don't have the bodies to keep throwing out there, and you want to manage some things at the end of the fourth. The Thunder not only cover, but the Thunder respond to adversity. And the resilience that this team shows, and now it's been over a year that they're doing this, is why I'm so confident in this team that you can still be a top 3 seed in the West. You can still be the West 1 seed. Now in the playoffs, we'll discuss that whenever we see how the team looks in terms of who's back, how they're looking when they're back, etc. But for the regular season on a night in and night out basis, I still put the Thunder against anyone, and this was not some banner win over the Pelicans. But now you turn your attention to the end of this homestand where you welcome in Phoenix and you welcome in Dallas. And if the Thunder find a way to go 1-1 in that stretch, that is a massive win because you inch closer every single day to the return of Hartenstein. And once Hartenstein's back, this team is back on track. The car is back on the road for a blistering regular season. Now, I think that Sunday game against Dallas is going to be just horribly tough to win. But no Durant. We'll see about Bradley Beal, who was questionable tonight and then got ruled out. We'll see what that Suns game looks like. But if you find a way to scrap and claw and go 1-1 this weekend, you've made the absolute best out of an absolute worst situation. And teams who do that are teams that win. And this Thunder team wins. Coming up, let's talk about J-Dub, who started his All-Star campaign with a bang these last 2 nights, but specifically today, how the Thunder turned a massive weakness almost into a positive. But first, I want to say right now about our good friends over at Game Time. I love Game Time. I think that Game Time is where you need to be, especially in the regular season of the NBA. Because at Game Time, they curate and make it easy for you to find and save more money on sports with concerts, comedy, theater, whatever you're into. Whatever you need a ticket for, they are going to get you the best prices. The lowest prices guaranteed at Game Time or they'll credit you 110% of the difference. They also let you buy last minute tickets. So if you're hanging around OKC and you're looking at the injury report and there's a guy you want to see questionable, and that's going to make or break your decision to go to a game, well, you can wait it out at game time. I also love to toggle the all-in pricing feature on and get the exact total right up front. So there's no surprise fees at checkout. And the view from your seat is spectacular. Many of you comment that you're coming to OKC for the first time to watch this team. You're traveling to go see the Thunder play on the road. And maybe you've never been in these venues before. You can get the sight lines and all the details from the view from your seat, panoramic picture at game time. Go download the Game Time app, create your account, use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms and conditions do apply. But again, create your account and redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Go download that Game Time app today. What time is it? It's game time. We're back on the Locked On Thunder podcast, on the Locked On Podcast Network, your teams every day. I am your host, Rylan Stiles. Follow me on Twitter at Rylan_Stiles, on Blue Sky, Rylan Stiles. Check out Locked On NBA. For the national perspective on basketball, we have two feeds on there. Game nights, which happen after every single slate, Monday through Sunday. I am a part of the crew after the Saturday slate each and every week, which you can check out. We also have our midday shows, which take you around the NBA for the bigger picture Monday through Friday in the midday. So go ahead and subscribe to Locked On NBA. Talking about this Thunder game and this Thunder team, this game is really headlined by Jalen Williams, who finished with 31 points, which is a season high, and 5 off of his career high. 6 rebounds, 7 assists, 4 steals, 2 blocks, 2 turnovers, 55% from the floor, and 4 for 7 from 3, including 7 for 7 at the charity stripe. Jalen Williams deserves all of the flowers in this game. We've talked this season about him being passive at times. These last 2 nights when the Thunder need him the most, he's found the balance of, he had a fourth quarter takeover dub, which was one of the first times we've seen that this year, where he absolutely takes over a game. And he's also found his stride where he's not abandoning the table setting and the playmaking and the passing improvements he's made over the summer, but he's also not making that a fixture or a crutch of what he's doing, where he's deferring. And so I think that he's found his stride and the balance in those two things, which are massive. And then defensively, he was elite defensively. As Mark put it, he was literally everywhere on the floor. And you saw it in the numbers, but you also saw it just playing heads-up defense, where he's having hard contests and he's doing the little things that aren't in the box score that help you generate stops, deflections, closeouts, those things. And he was just uber impressive. And it's really, difficult to play the 5. And he had that double block sequence, which got the crowd riled up and really ignited things on a back-breaking run and really ended the night for New Orleans, that double block sequence. But that is kind of the summarization of what J-Dub has been since he's arrived. After playing point guard in college, he's been the 4-man for OKC. Now he's playing the 5. And obviously, it's not perfect because he can only do so much. Like physically, he's literally limited as a center. It's why that we keep talking about small ball. But he's giving just all-out effort on that end and still able to bring it efficiently offensively. So many times you see these gaudy numbers from stars and scoring the basketball, and that excuses their poor defense because you're exhausting so much energy to produce offensively. J-Dub has that motor that allows him to do both. Him and Shai are unique in that way, but especially J-Dub. And I think that what the Thunder did to turn this negative situation where you lose Chet and you don't have any centers tonight, and you're roaring around, pacing around, commenting on this YouTube channel, all these doomsday scenarios. The Thunder really leaned into Chet being a 5 offensively in a way, where he's running these 2-man actions with Shai, and it's allowing him to stretch his legs as a catch and shoot guy, where he has been elite. Like that is not an overstatement of what J-Dub's done as a catch and shoot weapon. According to Synergy, entering tonight, he had a massive number on catch and shoot triples. It was 51% on catch and shoot looks. And those have been threes from him. And the two-man game with the pick and pop stuff where one, you're going to generate a mismatch for somebody because, for example, in this game, Yves Missi is trailing around J-Dub, and either Yves Missi or Jeremiah Robinson-Earl, who the Thunder thoroughly picked on, have to stay with J-Dub, which is a mismatch on the perimeter, or switch on to Shai, and for a moment, at the very least, you're scrambled, if not absolutely cooked, with those two guys having to stay out there. And so many times you saw this Thunder team be able to target Jeremiah Robinson-Earl, who was a minus 15 tonight, and target Yves Missi, who was a minus 9 tonight, in their minutes on the floor. Even though they have the size advantage, they did not have the athletic advantage. And that comes from J-Dub and Shai playing off of each other so well. I mean, you look at the minutes, and Shai played 32, J-Dub played 31. Like they were separate at times, which was a big feather in the cap of J-Dub because Shai was on the floor for that massive third quarter run to close the frame. And then he passed the baton to J-Dub, who took over the start of the fourth. But outside of that stretch, it was really them operating in this two-man system, which allowed the Thunder to blow this game out and put in Adam Flagler and Malachi Leones and kind of the cleanup crew, so to say. So I just think that J-Dub's made significant strides as a playmaker, as a catch-and-shoot shooter. And then we know what he can do as a driver, and he's putting it all together at the perfect time, at a time that the Thunder desperately need him. And to do this on national television does launch your all-star campaign. Because if the Thunder continue with the projection of, I believe, they'll be a top 3 seed at the all-star break, you're going to be looking around and saying, how have the Thunder done this? How have they lost 10-plus games from Hartenstein, where it's going to get up to 12 or whatever? How have they lost these games from Hartenstein? How have they lost the 20, 30 games from Chet? And they're still here in this vaunted Western Conference. It's going to have to be because of Shai and J-Dub. And in 2 straight nights, it's 2 straight fantastic outings from them. And I thought that Shai responded really well. To start 0 for 3 and still shoot 48% from the floor, he went 3 for 7 from 3 and only had 3 free throw attempts. 2 for 3 at the line. One was an and one, and then one he split the difference on a trip to the line. He finished with 29 points, 5 boards, 5 assists, 2 steals, and 2 blocks. This is what it's going to take. And I know that this is a lot. Like what we've been raving about for 17 minutes, the load that Shai and J-Dub are carrying, the requirement defensively to force turnovers and be active and get deflections. I know that that's a lot, but it's what's required to win each night. And it just feels like if any team is capable of handling this situation, it's the Oklahoma City Thunder. But I thought past their 2 stars, one of the most important pieces was Kenrich Williams, who after playing 5 minutes in his season debut Monday, he played 14 minutes in this game. He had 17. I wish he had 17 points. He had 7 points. Would have made my point a lot stronger. 7 points, 1 rebound, and 1 block with 3 drawn charges in 14 minutes. He also laid out BJ Boston and turned that into a 3. Laid him out the timeline on a screen and hit the triple. If you go back and look at these 14 minutes and you watch the possessions that Kenrich was in, it's another living, breathing example of what we've harped on this show. Yes, the Thunder have played small. Yes, Alex Caruso has been very serviceable. Yes, we just praised J-Dub playing small ball 5. Like, all these things are true. None of them do it better than Kenrich Williams, because Kenrich Williams brings a center's mentality to that position. He plays with a physicality that is unmatched. And that's why that we've been harping on the return from Kenrich being so massive. And the lineup that flipped this game was Shai, Dort, Kenrich, Wiggins, and Ousmane Dieng. That lineup turned the tide, and the Thunder never looked back. It was an impressive game in many phases, but it was especially impressive from these 3 guys. And we'll continue to talk about Lou Dort. We'll talk AJ Mitchell. We'll talk about the rest of this game coming up. But first, I want to say right now, our good friends over at FanDuel, go check out FanDuel today, because you can get ready to tackle NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. It's FanDuel Sportsbook app, which gives you everything you need in one place to bet on the NFL this year. And when you do, you can bet in the middle of games, you can bet before the games, and you can bet on futures as well at FanDuel.com. So join today, and when you do, new customers get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet over at FanDuel. You can also bet college hoops and the NBA. Only one NBA game on the docket on Thursday as you try to decipher and shift through things for the NBA Cup. And that is the Dallas Mavericks taking on the Utah Jazz, which sees the Mavericks as 9-point favorites in Utah. So go check that out today at FanDuel.com. We're back on the Lockdown Thunder podcast, on the Locked On Podcast Network, your teams every day. Thank you so much for making us your first listen every single morning, every single day. We're here for you talking Thunder basketball. Want to talk Lu Dort. 3 for 5 from beyond the arc, 11 points, 3 rebounds, 1 assist, 2 steals, 2 blocks. He had a messy behind the back pass on a fast break, which should have been an easy layup, but he tried to go Showtime. Looked a lot more like Paul Westhead in his system of spots versus Pat Riley's more free-forming Showtime Lakers. But nonetheless, Lu Dort was still really impressive. Did not get a turnover on that play because the Thunder were able to scrap for the basketball. But Lu, I think that you can put him in a solidified category of a 3-and-D guy. And I think that we've been reserved from saying that as like a for sure thing, as a foregone conclusion, because of what your brain was programmed to know from Lu Dort in his first 4 seasons. But this is completely different. Last year he shot 39% from 3. This year he's shooting 45% from 3. If you want to say that the truth's in the middle, which it often is, that's still a heck of a shooter for the caliber of defense that you get. And why the jump? Why the jump from him? The thing that leads me to say that this is sustainable and this is for real is because the jump is so easily explainable. As a rookie, he didn't shoot the ball well. He shot under 30%. He was a rookie. He got spotty minutes. He couldn't practice with the team until the bubble. Like, all these things add up. And then he went on that run of 3 years where nobody else wanted to shoot the basketball. Like, one, you're tanking in 2 years. And then that play-in year, how many times throughout that season did you get to a point where the only guy besides Shai willing to take a shot is Lu Dort? I mean, Mark even used it in an example of a question where Lu Dort's on one side of the spectrum where he is confident and he is not afraid to shoot. And, J-Dub's on another side of the spectrum where he is, more reserved and more deferential, and you want to get them closer to the middle. And last year, the 39% year on 5 attempts per game, Lu Dort himself flat out says it's because he cut out terrible shots. And so you've seen him still only take efficient looks and still cash in those efficient looks for now, combining, 79 games that he played last year to shoot 39% with the 11 he's played so far this year. And then now, I guess 12, whatever it is. And what you get is a full season sample size. So I think that Lu Dort has cured his 3-point woes in large part, of course, due to the work that he's put in, and in large part due to the simple fact of pushing him further down that totem pole of taking shots to where it's going to make his numbers look prettier. And it's not just the 3. I know that this game is not a beacon of hope example of it because the one shot he had inside the arc was this, hang time of doom jumper at the restricted area. But he is shooting a career high from the rim, and it's not a Lu Dort career high. Like last year, Lu Dort shot a career high from the rim, but it was still 56% at the rim, which is still dreadful. This year, it's actually good. Like the number is above 70% at the rim. It's actually good stuff from Lu Dort. It's a very small sample size because he has not taken many shots at the rim, but nonetheless, it's been encouraging. So I think that Lu Dort is confidently in that category of a 3-and-D weapon. Isaiah Joe in this game was 0 for. He went 0 for 5. That's just the nature of the rhythmic shooting and a guy who is a sharp shooter. So I don't want to belittle him and call him a streaky shooter. But any shooter, like any player who relies fully on shooting the basketball, is going to go through a game or two and going to go through kind of lulls like this. And when you look at his numbers, I find it interesting that as a starter, he is only shooting 29% from three. And as a reserve, he's shooting 47% from three. Now, the games played are lopsided. These numbers from Basketball Reference are as of 4 games as a starter and 7 games as a reserve. But obviously, you give a sharpshooter more chances to shoot the basketball and more games, the numbers are going to look prettier. But it does just feel like watching him that the numbers add up. The eye test adds up with these numbers of he just looks more comfortable. He just looks like he can get to a rhythm more off the bench and what he's been, more, what he's done more throughout his career. Where you look at his career so far, and he's gotten 258 games played total going back to Philadelphia, and 17 starts total. Of course, add 1 to each side because I don't think that Basketball Reference has updated yet. Nonetheless, I do wonder if you want to continue to push Joe as a starter, or if you want to kind of zig where the numbers are telling you to zig. So we'll see what they end up doing on that front. But AJ Mitchell was really good in this game, and I thought that Mark summed it up perfectly. Of what's been impressive about AJ Mitchell has been the ability to just kind of stick his chest in there. And here's a guy who's a two-way rookie, who's a guard, and he's playing the low man at times, but he is fighting. He is physically fighting on the floor for loose balls and for deflections and to wall up at the rim and to do whatever it takes necessary to help this team. And he was a plus 18 in his minutes. And I know single game plus minus yada yada, but still it just shows his impact and its positive contributions to this roster. He had a fancy footwork finish. He had 6 points. He had 3 assists, a couple rebounds, and a couple steals as well. Like he was just all over the floor tonight in 25 minutes, and AJ Mitchell was just really, really solid in this game. But overall, I still will hold true that this is a big win for the Thunder to just get it and secure it. Because I would push back on the comments I can already hear being typed out about, oh, well, you only saw the Thunder beat the lowly Pelicans. Yeah, but what would your reaction be if they lost this game? You need to win games and win games like this to stockpile for a game like Dallas, where frankly, if the Thunder win that game, I'll be thoroughly surprised. I know Dallas's record is what it is. They've lost a lot of clutch time games to a lot of good matchups, but with Dallas and their ability to play 48 minutes of Lively and Gafford, if the Thunder somehow win this game, which I wouldn't say it's a 0% chance, but it is heavily tilted toward Dallas, that would be a parade-worthy type regular season game. So I just think that you have to take the good as it comes and then worry about the bad when it comes. But coming up, we'll be talking NBA Cup preview. We'll be talking the Suns game on Friday, and of course that Mavericks game on Sunday. So a lot to get to here on Locked On Thunder. Subscribe anywhere you get your podcast from, including on YouTube. And until next time, be good and be good to one another.